Okay, welcome. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at how to add simulated data into our screens for Status Device Cloud. And we're going to begin by launching the Model Designer. So within the Model Designer here, I have a type set up. I've got a pretty simple type. I have a pump, and the pump has two properties on it, current and flow rate. There's an alarm on the current here. And I've also got a calculation, so I'm adding the flow and the current together. And there's the calculation. So in order to do to simulated data, first we're going to go to Assets and we're going to create a new pump. So this is going to be pump A1. So there's our asset, and we're going to go to Data Mapping. And we're going to click Connect to connect to our Data Connector service. If you're running Status Enterprise, your Data Connector service may be running on your local machine, like it is for me. If you're running Status Device Cloud, the connection information for your account will give you the address of the Data Connector service that's running out in Status Enterprise. So you can have you can connect to either Data Connector service running locally, Status Enterprise, or out on the web for Status Device Cloud, and the data simulation will work fine. So once we connect to our Data Connector service, the first thing we want to do is create a new mapping configuration. And so it's just asking for a file name. So we're going to call it sim for simulated. That's going to be the name of our configuration. And it pops up the dialog that says, well, what kind of live data are you interested in? And this is where we have our sensors, different types of PLCs, databases, BACnet, all sorts of different things. And under miscellaneous, you're going to see data simulator. So that's the one that we're going to select. Now within the data simulator, we can connect or add in some of our own data items and make our own folders. But the data simulator also has a number of its own data items that are already in place. So we are going to next click Connect. And what that's done is it's connected to our status server on the left. And if I browse through my assets, there's my pump. And on the right are my simulated items. So I've got some static items that I can write to. I've got items for blinking, for turning things on or off. I can test bad quality to see the behavior of the graphics. If various values indicate that they're having issues, I can see how the graphics are going to change, how they gray out on the screen when the underlying data is bad. And under analog items, we've got some different things here. We've got some random doubles. There's arrays, values that run up and down. So what we want to do is we want to create a data mapping. So we're going to take the current property in our model, and on the right we're going to pick a property within the simulated data, and we're going to do a right-click Add Mapping. So now as this value here changes in the model, this value is going to update. Sorry, as this value changes in our simulated data, this value is going to update in the model. And I can go to flow rate and I can pick a different value and do a right-click Add Mapping. So as this value changes in the data simulator, this value is going to get updated in the model now. So I can save that configuration, and I'll minimize this, and I'm going to go to the model browser now, which is the application for walking through our model and seeing how the live data is behaving that's flowing into the model. And I go to pump and I pull up a property table, and I can see that I've got those two simulated values flowing into the model, and I can also see that my calculation is executing. And then within the model browser, I can pull up a trend on that property if I'm interested in that. And I can pull up historical values on the property as it goes into the historian, and I can pull up any alarms that I might have on that property as well. But so our alarm threshold hasn't tripped for our current, so we don't have any alarms that we're worrying about right now. And then the last step, of course, would be to bring that simulated data into a nice mimic. So launching the Mimic Designer, we would create a new test mimic. and we would grab a couple of controls. Maybe we would go to gauges and pull down the radial gauge and possibly an LED display. And maybe a high-low bar. There we go. A couple of different things. So to bind these controls, I go to my model, and to bind the current to this graphic, I double-click on current, and I can do the same thing with the sum property and the same thing with the flow rate. And I'll save that screen, and then I'll run it, and I've got a mimic now with live simulated data.